who will operate the Tipsy Mermaid, and as you probably well know, runs the two best restaurants in town. So, Noah Grant's and Salty Cowboy, and obviously this project is sort of a third leg of that stool, literally right adjacent or one property away from both projects. So thanks for hearing us today. We are thrilled with the prospect of this project materializing, and we've been sort of chipping away at it for the better part of a year. And that's partially what brings us here today is, as you all know, the property was a restaurant of sorts prior to 2021, prior to that, I think. And since that time, we've been looking at sort of reinvigorating the property to a more substantial restaurant use. And during the time of our engagement, we have seen a fair number of headwinds to get this project off the ground, including unprecedented construction inflation, but similarly some property issues associated with a over 100-year-old historic building and site that hasn't had a lot of TLC over the last 20 or 30 years. So trying to bring a modern business restaurant use to the fore needs to overcome all of those obstacles. So with that, after a few iterations, we have enlarged the project from where we originally started. It's probably twice as big from the original vision in terms of both number of seats, not quite twice, but certainly more than twice the cost of the project. And because of that, we are here today to kind of give you sort of a request, or at least introduce you to a request for some assistance that we believe in turn will bring, great benefit to the town. So we've provided for you today at a very basic level, kind of the overview of the project. We have some numbers that we are willing and able to talk about and share today, and under the sort of assumption that, how you would like to entertain this, we're prepared to either, go into the detail today and or obviously orient you, and then come back in the April meeting for an official kind of ask and vote. So by the numbers, basically, we're looking at a project now that is about a $1.2 million project in terms of the investment in the real estate that's going to be made. In addition to that, we're going to be bringing about 45 new jobs to the fore to service the 78 seats that the restaurant will provide. In addition, the assessed value or the tax basis for the real property will go up by probably 5 or 6-fold. And as we look at the projections over the say a 10-year window, we're anticipating somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 worth of tax revenue that the town will realize, an increase in tax revenue that the town would realize from the successful construction and operation of this project. In addition, there's sort of an intangible that by count, we think there's probably about 1,300 customer visits that will occur per month in this facility. And obviously, we're huge fans of Zionsville's cultural tourism initiative. And I can't tell you in my sort of walk through the greater Indianapolis area and even visitors how many times both the Salty Cowboy and the Noah Grant's properties come up in conversation. Really kind of a real nice marker for Zionsville itself, and we're 100% confident that Tipsy Mermaid will will be the sort of the third leg of that stool as well. So there's an intangible benefit, obviously, that the project will also bring relative to the Zionsville cultural scene in the greater Indianapolis area. So having revisioned the project here over the last few months, our plan would be to be able to move forward with final designs and permitting and be in a position to actually start construction this summer, with the goal of being completed by November, or certainly by the end of the year this year. So that's kind of the big picture overview. Relative to the specifics of the project, we are planning to retain, if you're familiar with the property and as illustrated in the package that was provided, we're planning to retain what we consider the original two-story shell of the house, original house restaurant. There is a relatively challenged addition to the back of the property that we initially tried to save, and found that it was really unsalvageable. And so effectively, we're going to be tearing that down and wrapping the structure on two sides with new space, completely new infrastructure, which was unforeseen initially. And then also we will be redeveloping the rear of the property to add about a net add of about 4 parking spaces to the community, which it doesn't currently have. Currently, there are 6 non-compliant parking spaces in the rear of the property. And we would actually add 4, and they would all comply with current ordinances. And during the reconstruction of that, we will also be improving some stormwater issues in the alley in the back portion of the property. So the nature of our request here would really be in 3 sort of buckets, if you will. One is, I think this committee is very aware, the restaurant, the Zionsville sanitary sewer system, as is most communities' systems, challenged a little bit, and because of that, we have to and would expect to have a really robust grease containment, grease trap system. And this project brings that in spades to the property, which it does not currently have. So that will involve pretty significant work in the rear of the property in connection to the sanitary sewer and so forth. And certainly an important need, but one of which is disproportionate to a 78-seat restaurant. So that would be one area of support that we would be looking for assistance with. The second is, as I mentioned, when we rebuild the parking lot, which was again unforeseen initially, in the area basically from the building to the alley, we would be looking to improve the stormwater drainage in that area, and obviously bring 4 additional parking spaces that by ordinance would certainly help the parking opportunities in the village. Included in that would be an accessible space, which the property currently doesn't have, and is an important part of any hospitality kind of environment. The last piece is that the building, originally built as a home, 100+ years ago, and then used over time, and most recently as a restaurant, did not anticipate an assembly use such as this. And through the course of the project, and through and looking at kind of the fragile nature of a wood building, we're actually hoping to and planning to bring a fire sprinkler system into the project. This was not something that we had initially planned on, knowing that we would not be able to afford to do so, if you will. But in looking at an assembly use, which a restaurant is, and having multiple wood framed levels and so forth, we think it would be prudent, both not only for this property, but also for the life safety of the people that are visiting it, and adjacent property to try to bring a full fire protection system into the building. It is lost on me that, maybe the tipping point for us is two things. One, obviously, we had, Sherry had a very unfortunate event. Her property had a very unfortunate event a few years ago. So that's very near and dear, to her heart, and the heart of anybody that's familiar with that property. And then ironically, the event out west of town this week just maybe put an emphasis on that. So we think that that piece of the puzzle is important at this point, and notwithstanding, the cost benefit analysis, we're going to push hard to get that done. So short of getting into any specific numbers beyond what I've shared thus far, I wanted to share that overview. I'm happy to talk about the more specific nature of the request here today, but I'll just pause here and let you ask questions or provide comments. And certainly Sherry and Greg are here as well if you want to get more detail about the property or the planned operation. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you have.
Thank you, David. Amanda, do you have any thoughts on this? Got a couple comments. Okay. The story, the revitalization, the intended use, this I think is such a win for Zionsville. The keeping up the existing structure, the adding on, the allowing it to increase in AV also for the town side revenue is really helpful. So I applaud the effort and, from this team of getting this to what looks like a really beautiful project and will be really good for Zionsville. I know it takes a lot of effort to continue to revitalize a downtown, and it's a labor of love. So that is not unseen. I have just a couple questions. This all seems very comprehensive. I don't have any questions about the design or the intent, or that all is really great. I think, and I understand today the goal is kind of introduce us to the scope of the project and so we can have in our minds, for the anticipated ask maybe next month. I think a couple items that would be helpful in the meantime or to bring next time would be the construction breakdown costs. I see overall project cost at 1.2. I think if we could understand how that breaks down
Sure.
a little bit more. And then the comment about current AV and then the estimated AV and the payback of approximately 10 years. I think if we could see a small table calculation on, or even a commentary on what those numbers are, that'd be helpful.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I like that. Absolutely. That's all the comments I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Where's the outdoor seating? So there's going to.
So we have in the
right there.
yeah, and to clarify I used the number 78. We have 78 seats inside currently, and we in the iterative process have looked at different ways to accommodate varying amounts of outdoor seating. And right now our plan is to activate the front porch. So it's really a Main Street presence, which we're pretty excited about. And the sort of the front edge from the fence to the front porch. So I think there's about 14 seats in that illustration. We think we can probably get another, half a dozen or something like that, but enough seats to create, that activity at the front. If any of you were in attendance at the Plan Commission meeting May, I guess, when we actually had this project in its previous state approved, probably in May or June of last year. And there was we were retaining a large percentage of the patio that's currently between the Brick Street Inn and our project. And there was more outdoor seating there at that time, but through the course of the iterative process, we've just had to increase the footprint and clean up the footprint. So we've traded basically south for Main Street, which candidly will be a nice, really a nice, vibrant presentation to Main Street, we believe. So.
It's great that you're keeping the original structure too, or at least the facade of it, because I know that would be a huge pushback for some people in town.
Well, we've left no stone unturned to get to this point,
I
but
bet.
certainly feel like we're carrying the right stone forward. We're very excited about it, and do understand, sensitivities to maintaining the legacy of the town, and even the east side of Main Street, which was it's always been humble wood structures, which are great structures. All the legacy of the way the train moved through the town initially, but they don't lend themselves as quickly to the kind of use that we're talking about. Thank you for that.
It's an exciting project. I like it.
Yeah. I want to go to this restaurant.
Yeah.
So I hope to see it opened. And
I like no agreements with Cowboy.
I know. My heart will be pulled in a few directions. Yeah, I don't think we have any questions in general. This is the type of thing I think we would be very interested in supporting as we continue to parse through some details, numbers. So appreciate your time. I think it's really helpful to get an introduction.
Sure. Yeah.
And very much appreciate your time taken to do that.
Thank you. Well, we'll come forward with any additional information, including but not limited to the construction cost breakdowns, as well as the assessed valuation numbers, so that you have that in advance of next, as well as the specific number of the request in advance of the next meeting. So
Okay.
we'll look forward to that then.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other business? I will give a quick just sidebar update that we are continuing to move forward with the 501c3. There's, as you know, well, I think as we all know, because we're all in the loop on the paperwork is continuing to move around. I understand our lawyers are still looking at some things.
Yeah. So they're working with Lane, and they'll get back to you when they have more information.
Okay. So we anticipate, we are moving forward with the federal filing. Is that correct?
As far as I'm aware.
Okay. So we're moving forward with the federal filing because that was the one that we didn't need to have one step for, whatever that was.
Mm-hmm. Or was it the state that didn't?
Was it
need
the state?
I think the state was the easier one. The federal one takes more time because
That
it's
would make
IRS.
That would make
Yeah.
plenty of sense.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep our eyes open for that as we move forward. Any other thoughts, conversation?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This would be great if this could
Yeah,
come to be, because
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this would be really helpful to have them here. And I think as a rule, getting stuff in front of us earlier is so helpful.
yeah.
And the additional parking never hurts the village.
No, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I love the accessibility too. I think, I mean, I know it's required by code, but even pulling you around to the front door, just as a matter of equity for different mobility levels is really nice. And saving the structure.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, because I think at one point they were talking possibly about raising the building and rebuilding, and I thought, that's not gonna go over very well with some people, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
that will have many additional challenges.
Yeah.
That was the solution.
but yeah, this looks great, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay, nothing else. We will adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.